The story begins with a young boy who carries a strange and haunting gift. He has the power to see when a person is nearing their death. The film opens with tragedy. A passenger plane has crashed, leaving hundreds dead. Amid the wreckage, a small boy named Shinichiro stumbles through the twisted metal, calling for his parents who are nowhere to be found. Against all odds, he has survived, but his parents are gone. As he searches, he hears the faint cry of a girl begging for help. He turns to her, frozen by fear and confusion, too young to understand what he should do. In that moment, a massive chunk of the plane falls, crushing the girl before his eyes. The story then shifts forward many years. Shinichiro has grown into a quiet young man who works at a local car garage. The owner, Tetsuya, treats him like family, like the son he never had. For Shinichiro, who grew up an orphan, Tetsuya has become a father figure. Now that business is good, Tetsuya plans to open a second garage, and he offers Shinichiro the position of manager. But Shinichiro doesn't believe he's worthy of that responsibility, and he turns it down, though Tetsuya encourages him to think it over. Tetsuya's daughter, Mitsuko, also pushes Shinichiro to accept, telling him he's the only one who can do it. But not everyone is happy about this. Another worker, Kanda, has always been jealous of the way Tetsuya favors Shinichiro. Every chance he gets, he mocks him, shoves him, and belittles him. That day, after another confrontation, Shinichiro's phone ends up broken. Later, he takes it to a small repair shop where he meets a kind young woman named Aoi. She greets him warmly and explains that his phone is an outdated model and the parts are nearly impossible to find. Still, she manages to repair it for him. That night, Shinichiro finds himself staring at the phone, thinking about her smile. The next morning, on his commute to work, Shinichiro's hidden ability resurfaces. While standing in the crowded metro, he notices something impossible. The hands of the man beside him are beginning to fade, turning transparent as if they are disappearing from existence. This is when we learn the truth. Ever since that plane crash, Shinichiro has carried the power to glimpse death before it happens. The man's vanishing hands are a sign. His death is near, and although Shinichiro sees it clearly, he knows he can do nothing to stop it. He lowers his eyes and continues on his way to work. Back at the garage, Mitsuko once again urges Shinichiro to accept the manager position, but he still avoids giving her a straight answer. That night, as he walks past Aoi's little mobile shop, he can't help but glance inside, hoping to catch another glimpse of her. Before he can step in, a stranger brushes past him in the crowd. Something about it makes Shinichiro uneasy, and his curiosity gets the better of him. He follows the man a short distance down the street, only to witness him struck by a speeding car and killed instantly. The sight leaves Shinichiro shaken. He feels the crushing weight of regret, knowing he saw the signs yet could do nothing to stop it. The next day, still troubled, he turns to Mitsuko with a heavy question. If you had the power to see the future, if you could know exactly when someone was going to die, what would you do? Mitsuko doesn't hesitate. She tells him such a power would be nothing but a curse. No matter what, she would never want to bear that kind of burden. Her words only deepen his unease. Soon after, Shinichiro's phone breaks again, so he returns to Aoi's shop. But this time, his heart nearly stops. Aoi's hands are fading before his eyes, the unmistakable sign that death is drawing close. Panic floods through him. He cannot let her die. When she finishes repairing his phone, he nervously asks if she would meet him later. Surprised but intrigued, Aoi agrees. They meet at a quiet coffee shop. Shinichiro studies her carefully, and to his immense relief, her hands are whole again. Whatever fate was waiting for her has been averted. Feeling emboldened, he tells her the truth, that ever since surviving the plane crash as a child, he has carried the ability to glimpse people's deaths before they happen. Even as the words leave his lips, he is certain she will think he's insane. Before Aoi can even reply, he loses his nerve, apologizes, and hurries away. But on his way home, he suddenly collapses in pain, clutching his chest, though he manages to stagger back to his apartment. The next morning, with a new resolve, Shinichiro goes to Tetsuya and finally accepts the role of manager. That evening, he stays late at the garage, determined to live up to the responsibility. To his surprise, Aoi arrives at the shop. She explains that she found his address from the store records and she needed to see him. Sitting down with him, she unfolds a newspaper. The headline tells of a brutal attack at a factory not far from her shop. Several people lost their lives. Aoi admits that she always walks home on that road, and if not for Shinichiro's invitation the previous night, she could have been one of the victims. Remembering his strange words about seeing the future, she realizes he may have saved her life. She thanks him earnestly. Shinichiro, still unsure if he should embrace the truth of his ability, brushes it off with a nervous laugh. pretending it was all coincidence. The next morning, Mitsuko comes into the garage and instantly notices something unusual. She can tell someone had been there late the previous night. When she asks Shinichiro about it, he doesn't hide anything this time. He tells her openly about Aoi's visit, and for the first time, Mitsuko sees him letting someone into his life. She is genuinely happy for him, because Shinichiro has always kept people at a distance, carrying his burdens alone. This honesty stirs up a glimpse of the past. Years ago, there was a girl named Mariko who also worked at the garage. She had quiet feelings for Shinichiro, and though he liked her too, he could never bring himself to decide or express it. Eventually, heartbroken, she left, choosing instead to be with a wealthy customer. That was the end of her time at the garage, and it left Shinichiro more isolated than ever. The story shifts back to the present. From inside the garage, loud shouting erupts. Tetsuya is scolding Kanda in a fury. Kanda had taken a customer's car without permission just to impress a girl on a date. Instead of admitting fault, Kanda explodes in anger, hurling insults and even trying to swing at Shinichiro. Tetsuya, enraged, steps in and punches Kanda, firing him on the spot. But as Kanda storms out, Shinichiro's eyes widen in horror. He sees Tetsuya's hands beginning to fade. The man who raised him like a father is now marked by death. Determined not to let it happen, Shinichiro takes action. After work, he invites Tetsuya to dinner, and the older man happily agrees, unaware of the storm brewing around them. As they walk toward the restaurant, Shinichiro's eyes never leave him, scanning every corner, every shadow, desperate to spot the danger. Then it happens. Out of a dark alley, Kanda rushes forward, rage burning in his eyes, an iron rod raised high above his head. Time slows. In that split second, Shinichiro doesn't hesitate. He throws himself in front of Tetsuya, taking the full blow meant for him. The strike doesn't kill him, but the sheer strain shocks his already weakened body. His chest seizes, and he collapses to the ground from a sudden heart attack. When he finally wakes, he's lying in a hospital bed. Mitsuko is by his side, gently explaining what happened. She tells him that Tetsuya has already forgiven Kanda, realizing that both of them were blinded by anger. Later, Dr. Takeo, the attending physician, examines Shinichiro and calmly explains that his heart attack was likely triggered by extreme stress. But as the doctor speaks, Shinichiro's gaze drifts into the hallway and his blood runs cold. A little girl walks past, her small body already starting to fade away, marked by death. Instinctively, he tries to rise and follow her, but Dr. Takeo grips his arm firmly and stops him. With a knowing look, the doctor asks a chilling question. "You saw her disappearing too, didn't you?" Confused and shaken, Shinichiro follows him to the hospital rooftop. There, under the open sky, Dr. Takeo reveals the truth. He too possesses the same ability, a power he calls Fortuna's eye. He warns Shinichiro with a grave tone. They are not gods, only men, and they have no right to change fate. Every time they interfere, they pay a price. He explains that Shinichiro's heart attack was no coincidence. It was the cost of saving Tetsuya from death. His final words cut deep. If Shinichiro continues to defy fate, the next heart attack will not just weaken him, it will kill him. Shinichiro walks home carrying the weight of Dr. Takeo's warning like a stone in his chest. The thought of living under the shadow of fate gnaws at him. The very next day, unable to hold back his emotions, he calls Aoi to meet him. And in a moment of raw desperation, he proposes to her on the spot. His words spill out, full of fear and longing, driven by the fragile truth that life could end at any second. Aoi is stunned by the suddenness of it all. Shocked and confused, she leaves without giving him an answer. But the following day she returns. This time, her heart is steady. She accepts his proposal, and from that moment, their relationship blossoms. They begin to share every moment together, clinging to the happiness they've found in each other. Meanwhile, Kanda returns to the garage, his pride gone, asking humbly for his job back. Shinichiro, remembering his own second chances, feels pity and convinces Tetsuya to rehire him. For the first time in a long while, Shinichiro feels like life is giving him hope. He goes out and buys a pair of matching rings for himself and Aoi, a symbol of their bond. But his visit to the hospital dampens his joy. The doctor warns him sternly, one more heart attack will almost certainly be fatal. Back at the garage, a wealthy man arrives with his car. Shinichiro recognizes him immediately. He was Mariko's boyfriend, the man she chose after leaving the garage. Curious, Shinichiro asks about her, but the man dismisses Mariko coldly, mocking her and even throwing insults at Shinichiro before leaving. Shinichiro swallows the anger and humiliation, but when the man returns later to collect his car, something chills Shinichiro to the bone. His body begins to fade. the mark of death covering him. Dr. Takeo's warning echoes in Shinichiro's mind. This time he doesn't interfere. Powerless, he watches destiny claim another life. The very next day, Shinichiro attends the man's funeral. There, he sees the man's young daughter sobbing uncontrollably for her father. The sight shatters him, dragging him back into the memory of the little girl from the plane crash, the one he couldn't save. The next day, Shinichiro sits in a park, lost in despair. Nearby, a kindergarten class plays under the watchful eyes of their teacher. A small girl runs up to him, asking for her ball. But when Shinichiro looks at her, horror grips him. Her body is beginning to fade away. He quickly looks around and sees the same fading mark on every child, even the teacher. Panic floods through him. He rushes toward them, desperately checking their hands, trying to confirm what his vision is showing. But the teacher misunderstands his frantic behavior. Alarmed, she thinks he is harassing the children. She quickly gathers the kids and leaves, hurrying them away from him. In her rush, a letter slips from her hand and flutters to the ground. Shinichiro picks it up. It's a notice about a school trip. The children and their teacher are scheduled to take a train. His heart sinks. The letter says the trip is on the 7:30 a.m. train tomorrow. Shinichiro goes to the station to see for himself. The moment he arrives, his dread is confirmed. All around him, passengers flicker in and out of existence, their bodies fading. He doesn't need any more proof. A disaster is coming. That very train, the 7:30 departure, is fated for a terrible accident. Shinichiro is certain now. The school letter clearly mentioned that the children and their teacher would be taking that exact 7:30 train the next morning. But then a thought crashes into him with terrifying clarity. Aoi also takes that same train every day to get to work. Suddenly, the faceless tragedy becomes personal. The woman he loves is walking straight into danger. That very night, he rushes to Aoi's house, his heart pounding with fear. When she opens the door, relief washes over him. She's safe. Without hesitation, he pleads with her to go away with him on a sudden 3-day trip, starting immediately. At first, Aoi is taken aback by the strange request. But when she sees the desperation in his eyes, she quietly agrees. Shinichiro's heart lifts. He believes he's managed to save her. But the thought of the children and the other passengers gnaws at him. He can't leave them behind. He calls the school, begging them to cancel the field trip. But without a valid reason, the authorities dismiss his warning. Powerless, he sits down that evening and pours everything into a letter for Aoi. In it, he confesses the truth about his power, the lie about their trip, and most of all, his love for her. If anything happens to him, he wants her to know. The next morning, his fragile plan collapses. A message from Aoi arrives. Her coworker is sick and she must open the shop. She won't be going on the trip with him after all. The words cut through him like a blade. Without a second thought, Shinichiro bolts from his house, but outside the police are waiting. The kindergarten teacher has filed a report against him for his strange behavior in the park, and now they're here to question him. But Shinichiro doesn't have time. Aoi's life is on the line. Desperation fuels him, and he manages to evade the officers, sprinting toward the station with everything he has. When he arrives, it's too late. The train has already departed, with Aoi on board. Refusing to give up, he hails a taxi and orders the driver to race to the next station down the line. His only hope is to intercept it before disaster strikes. At the station, his worst fears solidify. Construction work is underway, with heavy machinery looming over the tracks. In an instant, he sees the vision play out in his mind. A construction crane is destined to derail and crash onto the passenger train, killing everyone. There's only one way to stop it. Without hesitation, Shinichiro grabs a flare from the worksite, ignites it, and steps directly onto the tracks, holding the blazing light high above him. Inside the passenger train, Aoi sits in the carriage closest to the engine. Her eyes widen in horror when she sees Shinichiro standing on the tracks. She screams for the driver to stop. The brakes slam, the screech of steel filling the air, and the train grinds to a halt just in time. At that very moment, the construction train derails, toppling violently onto the tracks, right at the spot where the passenger train should have been. The collision would have killed everyone, but Shinichiro's desperate act changes fate. He has stopped the disaster, saving every single life on board. Aoi immediately leaps out of the train and rushes toward Shinichiro, who has collapsed on the tracks. When she reaches him, she falls to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. In the act of saving her and all the other passengers, Shinichiro has sacrificed his own life, his body giving out to a final, fatal heart attack. At his funeral, Aoi learns something that deepens her grief. Mitsuko tells her that she was the first girl Shinichiro had ever allowed himself to open his heart to. The weight of those words crushes her. But then comes a revelation even more powerful. The truth is finally unveiled. 𝗟𝗏 was the little girl from the plane crash all those years ago, the one who cried out for help amidst the wreckage. Shinichiro had no memory of it because of the trauma, but he had saved her life back then too. By distracting her, he unknowingly pulled her away from the very spot where debris fell, sparing her life. And there's more. 𝗟𝗏 also possesses the Fortuna's eye. She has been searching for Shinichiro ever since that day. From the moment he walked into her shop and reacted to her fading hands, she knew he was the one she'd been waiting for. On the day he invited her on the trip, she herself had seen Shinichiro's body start to vanish. She realized then that Shinichiro was planning to sacrifice himself. That's why she still got on the train that morning, hoping to change fate and save him instead. But in the end, Shinichiro gave everything to protect the woman he loved. In the final scene, we see 𝗟𝗏 sitting quietly, holding the letter Shinichiro had written for her. As she reads his words of love and confession, tears stream down her face. Slowly, she puts on her half of the matching rings, as if feeling his presence one last time. The story closes on this bittersweet moment, reminding us of love, sacrifice, and destiny. On IMDb, this movie has an average rating of 6.2. So friends, how did you like this story? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more movie explanations. We'll see you in the next one.